Hello, my name is Kathy Wahl. I am the director of the Inclusion Collaborative, and I'm very happy to be presenting today at the 2020 Inclusion Collaborative State Conference. The title of this presentation is called Using the Calming Kit During Stressful Times. And this has been a partnership that we have had with the Discovery Source for the last 2 years. So today our outcome is to share how we developed our calming kit and the partnership that we have with Discovery Source. We are going to understand the importance of recognizing and teaching children about feelings. We also are going to learn strategies that support social emotional development and teach self-regulation. And then what we are going to learn what's in the two versions of the calming kit. The Inclusion Collaborative is a department at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. We are not general ed, we are not special ed, but we help support all children who need to be included in our environment. Often, many children are not as welcome as they could be if they have behaviors going on. And we know that being dysregulated and not knowing how to calm ourselves down is a real connection towards behaviors that aren't so pleasant. So we really feel that in order to support the welcoming and belonging culture that we all believe should happen for inclusion, we need to specifically address and intentionally look at teaching self-regulation and helping children with their strong emotions. So that's how we came about developing the Calming Kit. The Calming Kit, and here's a picture of the current kit. That is a kit for classrooms. It is a clear plastic backpack that can be washed, a key thing, that has all the tools and sensory strategies and emotional supports all in one place to help young children regulate their bodies and emotions so that they can regain control of their brains, which then will allow them to learn. So this is what the Calming Kit for the classroom looks like. As I mentioned, there are two versions of the Calming Kit. The Calming Kit for the classroom, a picture you just saw, and the family calming kit, which is a little smaller kit without as many lesson plans and activity sheets that teachers receive, and in a small cloth bag that can be worn as a backpack and, most importantly, washed. But the family calming kit can be used individually for a family or an individual child as needed in their home environment. Before we begin talking about the calming kits and what they do, it's really important as adults to be really think about their own feelings and checking in with your own emotions. So how do you feel today? It's really good to check your feelings when you are going to be teaching self-regulation strategies. And so this is just something to think about. How are you feeling today? Do any of these feelings resonate with you? And just yourself being able to identify your own feelings will make you a much better model for teaching self-regulation strategies with young children. Most adults that we know did not go to a special class to learn about emotions or feelings. And so think about how you as a child learned about your feelings. Many of us learn by just watching and checking out the other folks in our environment and modeled after them. And we're not specifically taught what emotions meant or identifying them or understanding them. Where emotions, there's many times in many households and many children are raised with the premise that we're not allowed to have some emotions or we're not allowed to express some emotions. And so think about those in your childhood that you may not have been really encouraged to share. And then another thing that's really important to think about before you begin working with young children is to think about how comfortable are you with emotions. If you were with another adult and they suddenly burst out into crying and sobbing and being so sad, would that be hard for you? Because you often translate that with the children you work with, the kids that have very strong emotions. And if you're not really comfortable with them, it's harder for you to deal with it. So it's good to take a look at the way you were raised and how emotions for yourself impacted your learning and what you are today and you're comfortable, how you're comfortable with them right now. There are some facts and feelings about emotions that we always like to share with providers and families that we're working with, that all feelings are valid. It is okay to have your feelings. And the more we say that, the more permission kids have to express their emotions. It's what we do with them that counts. And so that's something that we really need to emphasize with the children and families we work with. Feelings also change. You can have a feeling of happiness and a feeling of sadness all within the same minute. And that's okay. There are certain developmental ages and stages that you can see kids going up and down in their emotions much quicker. We all know adults who have quick turnaround emotions. So it's just important to understand that feelings can change, and that's okay. It's also important to understand that you can have more than one feeling about the same thing. You can have what's called mixed emotions. You may be really excited to be listening to this presentation right now, but you should be, perhaps doing something else in your life at the same time. And so you might be having mixed emotions just even watching this presentation. It's also very important to understand that everybody has different lenses and sees different things differently. So you can feel differently than someone else about the same thing or the same experience. Two people can watch a child have a meltdown, throw down tantrum, and you may both be having different feelings about that incident, and that is okay. But those are some facts and feeling about emotions and feelings that you need to really understand. So we're going to look at a quick clip right now. And this is if adults regulated like toddlers, what would our world look like? And so I'd like to just share this with you right now. And it's somewhat humorous, but it actually should really make you think about how we are automatically as adults regulating ourselves. And if we didn't learn about self-regulation, this is potentially what our world could look like.
I don't want to pay bills. I don't want to pay bills. I don't want to pay. I want to be there now. I want to be there now. No. I don't know where I'm going. Mama. Where's my Wi-Fi? I hate you, Wi-Fi. I hate you. I wanted soy. I wanted soy.
So even if that seems rather humorous, that just really shows you what we could like as adults if we hadn't learned self-regulation. So many of us have learned incidentally how to self-regulate, or we learned what kind of calms and soothes us. Many of us getting on the phone and talking to someone, that helps relax and calm and self-regulate us. We know that yoga is a perfect self-regulation tool. I think especially being on the beach would be a really great idea, and that really helps to self-regulate. We know drinking coffee sometimes self-regulates people to get going in the morning or in the evening or in the afternoon when they need an extra boost of energy. We know that deep breathing helps people self-regulate. We know that, again, talking to a friend will help self-regulate and calm different emotions that we might have. We know walking an animal, a dog, for example, can really help to regulate us. And sometimes they just see us and need a walk, and that helps to regulate us when we come home from work. And eating chocolate and drinking wine sometimes helps regulate us too. So we've all learned different ways that we can self-regulate ourselves. as adults. But children, they really need to get some support to self-regulate. And so what is self-regulation? It is the ability to regulate your thinking, your emotions, and your behavior. It's your inner voice saying, oh, this is what I need to do to calm down. Young children translate experiences into information that they can use to regulate. So for example, a mom's soothing voice or cuddling an infant can help calm them down. Many of us have learned over time with a newborn baby, when they are first really young and very dysregulated, swaddling them, bringing their hands together, putting a blanket around them, holding them, rocking, singing to them, bouncing them, are all ways that they can help really regulate. And then over time, what kids will learn is that they can maybe snuggle on the blanket or suck their thumb or put their pacifier in. And they learn even by 6 months of age to do one little thing that helps to regulate them. Children should develop self-regulation by birth to age 5. That's when they can develop it. And it can be taught and given specific strategies for these kiddos to learn. And over time, they will pick that up and learn how to do that on their own. You can see the picture here of this little girl. She's got a blankie that she's snuggling with. She's got her thumb in her mouth, and we think she's got really heavy things in her bag to give her lots of weight support there that helps to regulate many young children. So why is regulation so important? It's because thinking and emotion really affect each other. When you are not regulated, and you're thinking and regulating it out of your emotions, you have a very hard time activating your cognitive learning brain. So if you can regulate your emotions, then you're able to engage your learning brain to learn. Young children who engage in intentional self-regulation learn more and go further in their education. This is why as teachers in preschool and elementary school and even high school and middle school, you say, okay, we're going to get ready for a test now. What are some of the things we need to do for that? And as kids get older, they learn that they need to make sure they've got a snack, they've got, some their favorite pencil to work with, whatever it is, to help regulate themselves and do better on their test. And they really show a connection between intentional self-regulation practices to predicting school success long-term. So these are critical skills we learn for life, with young ages and on. I'm going to show you a video now of Dr. Daniel Siegel. He's a leading neuroscientist who works with young children, and he has an excellent model that we can use to help teach young children about their brain and how to calm it down. And so what we're going to be showing you next is called the hand model for the brain. And you can practice by getting your fist out and watching Dr. Siegel's video right now, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
One of the most rewarding experiences for me has been to study brain science and apply it to the experience of parenting. And the hand model of the brain that I use to teach parents is very useful to understand that. So if you take your thumb and put it in the middle of your palm, put your fingers over the top, this is a very useful model of the brain. And when we can actually see in front of us what's going on in the brain, then we can change what the brain does. So let me walk you through very basically what happens in this brain and the structure in it. And it goes like this. The spinal cord comes up, representing the wrist, and then you have coming up into the skull, the brain stem and the limbic area, which work together to help regulate arousal and your emotions and the way you have a fight, flight, freeze response. These are below the cortex, the limbic and brainstem areas, and the cortex is this higher part of the brain that allows us to perceive the outside world, to think and reason. And this frontmost part of the brain, right behind your forehead, so the person's oriented like this, is actually the part that regulates the subcortical, limbic, and brainstem areas. This regulation is very important because sometimes we can have all sorts of things happen in our life. We're tired, we're exhausted, someone pushes a particular emotional button, and we can flip our lids. So rather than being tuned in and connected and balanced and flexible, we can lose all of that flexibility, even lose moral reasoning, and act in ways that are terrifying to others, including our children. Now, you can actually bring yourself back online and come back to the high road and make a repair with your child. And that's important to explain to them. And you can also use this hand model of the brain to explain to children, even as young as 5 and 6, how to understand when their emotions are rising up from the brainstem and limbic areas here, and how it's overriding the prefrontal area and making it so they may be about to flip their lids. So I've had kids come tell me that they're about to go flip their lids and they need a break. They need a timeout. And by even just naming that, they can tame it. And that's the power of using the hand model for ourselves and our children to help us all make sense of what goes on in the emotional communication that we have in the course of day-to-day life.
So Dr. Siegel explains it very well, and I'm going to just do a little bit of more review for you. As he mentioned in the hand model for the brain, if you face it this way, the front part here is aligned with the front of our forehead, and that's the last developed connected brain that we do connect with our limbic system, or our early developed part of our brain. And it takes approximately 25 years for that all to connect, by the way. But it's this frontal lobe here, this higher level brain that takes many years to develop, that actually regulates and organizes our action thoughts and can control our emotions. If you open up your hand, as he mentioned, the limbic system is here in the palm of your hand, and that is what all the emotions come from. It's one of the earliest developed part of our brain because we need it for survival. It helps with fight, flight, freeze, any of those mechanisms that we need right away. And so this emotional center of our brain, the limbic system, is earliest developed and is very strong because we need it for our survival. As we grow and get older, we have all of our prefrontal cortex here, the regulation of thoughts, actions, and then the cerebral cortex, the frontal cortex here, helps with all the planning, organizing, and thinking and reasoning. So this is the hand model of the brain. And we're able to show that if your hand is open all the way like this, that means you are in full limbic system working from your emotions. And when your hand is all connected like this, it means that you are working from your frontal lobe, your prefrontal cortex, and you are much more regulated. So it's important to understand this, and kids as young as 3 and 4 can learn that when their emotions are starting to rise in their brain, their hand starts to look like this, a little sideways, and that's a good way to say, I need some support to help regulate myself. This right here is full limbic emotional system dysregulation. So self-regulation and the hand model brain and the hand brain model really shows how self-regulation can help our cerebral cortex to gain control of that limbic system, all of our emotions that are coming out of that limbic system. So this is what it looks like when our limbic system is controlling our brain. This is when we're just starting to calm down or just starting to get dysregulated. And this is what the hand model of the brain looks like when we're totally regulated. And this is the brain that can actually learn and engage with the environment. So why do we use the calming kit? We use the calming kit to teach appropriate self-regulation. And again, I mentioned it's a collection of tools and strategies to help with self-regulation and emotional learning. And we developed it probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We were using it. We were making our own calming kits from our makerspace that we had on site. And then we needed the space for teacher preparation programs. So our makerspace was closing. We were finding a smaller place, but we didn't have a space about 2.5 years ago. And we spoke with and met with Dave Scahill, who's from the Discovery Source. He decided he loved it. And since then, we've been in a partnership where his company puts them together and we help with trainings and support. So that's how the calming kits came about. During COVID-19, we have used lots of calming kits and used them for many, many trainings. But we noticed the need for family calming kits, individual ones that could go home and be used at home for families. And that's how we came up with the family calming kit. So it's kind of interesting to know what the history is. So when do we use the calming kit and when do we teach? And I'm going to use some examples showing you using the hand model of the brain. So when our fist is closed and our brain is regulated, this is a good time to share some information, because that's a good time for kiddos to take in information and engage with it and learn from it. So we like to maybe have kids know where the calming kit is in the classroom or at home. And maybe perhaps that's a good time to read the social story, which I will explain what that is in a minute or two. As a child starts to be using more emotions than their more higher level brain, this is a really good time before kids totally become dysregulated, is a good time to use some of the strategies. And when kids are in full dysregulation, working only from their emotional part of their brain, this is not the time to say, listen, little Johnny, we're going to talk about how to self-regulate and control those feelings of yours. Can you identify how you feel? This is not the time to teach. When the child is calming down after being dysregulated, this is a very appropriate time to teach. And again, when we're back to total engagement with our full working brain, this is another time to teach. But the critical thing here is to understand that when a child is working from their emotional part of their brain, they're not going to learn anything or be able to engage their learning brain. So it's best not to be doing any teaching at that point. But we have strategies. So what's in the calming kit? Here's a diagram that shows you what's in the classroom calming kit. You can see it's in a plastic see-through backpack. We like it because it's A, washable, and B, it's mobile. And then we have all kinds of tools in there, which I'll share in a moment for you. Feelings wheel, calm down kit, calming strategy cards, the self-talking phone, the squeezy heart. And what's in the family calming kit, the real differences is that it is a little bit smaller. It doesn't have bingo cards. It doesn't have the lesson plan and activities in the spiral bound book there. It has information that's specific for families. They also don't have the clear backpack because we wanted them to be able to wash things. And by doing this, we were able to make this a cheaper product, which has been very, very well received. So these are some of the items in the calming kits. Feelings wheel, having kids being able to identify their feelings, and I'll show you one in a minute. Taking 5 breaths visual support, helping kids work through taking 5 deep breaths. We have a squeeze ball, and I'll show you how that works by squeezing on things, doing any hard work or activities that give pressure into your muscles that helps kids to calm down. We have a calm down social story, which I'll show you in a minute. We have calming strategy cards, which are on a little ring. You can wear on a lanyard even to give kids strategies when they need them. We have a self-talking phone, which I'll share why we have that. And then there's activities and information, and the classroom version has a lot more lesson plans, activity ideas, and things for teachers to access for their classroom. On the right-hand side of the column are all things that we've used in the past to individualize calming kits and add things to a calming kit that might be more appropriate or useful for a specific child. So I will let you work through this. I do know bubbles are magic. We originally had bubbles in our original calming kit, but to pack and ship them, we had a lot of bubble disasters. So I encourage you to go to the dollar store and get a 3-pack for $1 and have bubbles around. They seem to add smiles, and they also help with the deep breaths. Play-Doh is another thing that's really an inexpensive way and adding it to your kit, but we had some Play-Doh issues with mailing also. So we've taken it out of the kit, but you can add those easily to your kit. This is the calming kit guide that is for families and teachers. We have 2 versions. And as I mentioned, The teacher's version has a lot more activity, lesson plans, et cetera, and sheets in there. So why do we use all these items? Why do we use these items? Well, because they work. And the nice thing is if kids get to use these early on, they will soon learn that these are really good strategies that help make them feel better. So why do we use squeezing and physical activities, or heavy work as we call it? Because when your body gets upset and has all those emotions that have come out of your limbic brain, you get a lot of energy for that fight, flight, freeze that you need to do. And sometimes this energy needs somewhere to go because it's not actually being used for a survival thing. So to get rid of this extra energy, squeezing the squeeze ball is a good idea. We have Play-Doh is even good because it's hard work with your hands. We have the 5 breaths visual support card, which I'll show you in a minute, because taking deep breaths helps expend that energy. And then we have a lot of calming strategy cards that have things like chair push-ups, because that helps you, or a wall push-up, or doing jumping. You'll know many classrooms have a little trampoline in them because jumping helps expend energy. And so that can be, jumping in place can be something that's on the activity card. So all those strategies help when your brain is totally immersed in its emotions and you need to get rid of all that excess energy. Then we have the feeling wheel, which is a feel that's has a little arrow in it that kids can turn the arrow and identify how they're feeling. And so it helps identify their feelings. It helps them learn about what feelings and what they are. And by even just saying, I'm really sad, I'm really mad, is enough to start engaging your learning brain. So this little guy in the picture here, he did not want to do his distance learning worksheets, and I probably don't blame him. So he identified that he felt tired. I think that's what it is. And then they discussed it more, and he got, he was happy after he talked about his feelings, and he was then ready to do his activities that he needed to do for distance learning. And so you can see this can be used in the home, and we found it to be very useful during distance learning, which I'll tell you. This is a strategy that should be used when the brain is not fully engaged in emotions, but is just starting to be, because this is enough. By just identifying your feelings and saying how you feel helps to engage your brain. This is just an example of what's in the activity, the spiral brown notebook that comes with each kit, and it shares the feeling wheels and what it is all about, and what are some activities that you can do, and why you would want to be using those. So it gives you some ideas and activities to do with the feeling wheel. This is what the 5 breaths visual support looks like. And I often have people, if you don't know how 5 breaths can make you feel better, I encourage you to practice this on your own. Take a deep breath, hold it in, and then blow it out. And even after 1 deep breath, you start to feel better. So as soon as a child's taken his deep breath, he can take his little card that says breathe and put it on the laminated space number 1. And then he can take another breath and then move his laminated breath card number 2 into the number 2 spot. And after doing 5 of them, that helps kids guide through taking the 5 breaths. And why do we, so we tend to feel better once we've had 5 breaths. But the reason this is so important to teach kids is because not only does it calm our minds, but it calms our bodies. I mean, it actually has a physiological effect. It stimulates the parasympathetic response, which reduces our oxygen consumption, slows down our heart rate, and decreases our blood pressure, reduces muscle tension, and all of this helps to calm our mind. So we really need to be teaching this at a young age for kids to learn this technique. Then pairing it with bubbles is such a great thing, because you can't blow bubbles by going, you have to take long, deep breaths. And there's something magical about bubbles. Makes like 99.9% children smile and feel better. And after you blow 5 of those with bubbles, everyone feels a lot more relaxed. So I encourage you to A, get some bubbles, and B, to be really teaching and modeling taking 5 breaths with the children you work with. The Calm Down Social Story, it has a step-by-step process using pictures and easy to understand child language. With the pictures is critical, and it offers choices, different ways that you can learn to calm down. So the Calm Down Social Story is really good when you're engaged and you are calm, but it's also good when you're starting to become dysregulated, because you can open your Calm Down Social Story and find something in there that might help you calm down. Incidentally, everything in our kits are English and Spanish, and we also have Vietnamese available now. And all the materials are laminated so that kids can sneeze and drool, etc., because we know that we want them to last. These are the calming strategy cards, and there's about 15 of them. They all have little holes, and they're on a nice little ring that you can put on a hook somewhere, wear it around your neck on a lanyard. But the calming strategies are really good for when a child is just becoming dysregulated, because they can maybe choose something that's going to help them become regulated, like listening to music or stretching. So it gives visual options, and then kids can actually choose what they want to do to calm down. And we know that choice is so critical in helping kids have agency to what they're doing. If they have the choice, then they're going to be much more motivated to do it and to learn it, and it will stick with them better. So here's something from the Calming Kit activities book that comes with it. Some things that you can do with the activities strategy cards. There's a nice little yoga card, and these are some different poses. There's more and more young children doing yoga during the day, and it's a great way for them to help relax. Drinking a sip of water, counting, all those types of things. Having a happy thought is actually one of the choices, to think about a happy thought. And all those kids can help kids engage their brain and learn to calm down, and then they can start to learn better. So what we found in this COVID-19 experience that we've had is that the family calming kits have been really popular. Families are going through a lot of stress and a lot of traumas. In our county, we've had people out of work, many people in 1-bedrooms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have found that the calming kits have been especially valuable this past year. We like that it's easily accessible when we're in shelter in place. It's just a backpack. You can put it on and go to your outdoor place that you're going to play 6 feet apart together and have it. You can take it in the car. We like that it's washable. That's really important. And it's actually, we've had quite a few families report to us that it supports their distance learning environments. And that's where I got a picture of that little guy doing his worksheets he didn't want to do. But, being able to identify his feelings with the feeling wheel, he was able to engage in distance learning. We've also found that older siblings and adults in the family often learn these skills by using the calming kit, and then they start to model it and start to use some of these strategies. And so that actually has been a really nice influence on overall family mental well-being. So we find that the whole family can benefit from these calming kits when they're used in the home, and they've been really very, very beneficial in the past 6 months with the shelter in place going on. So I encourage you to look for those family calming kits. So the calming kit to summarize, the calming kit provides skills for life. Kids can learn these strategies early on that they can take with them. They can remind their older siblings to do their deep breaths. I've seen that happen. I've seen adults practice with a squeezy ball when they're like on a long Zoom meeting and they need some stress relief there. So these skills and strategies that are in the Common Kit actually provide skills for life. So you can go to the 2 links that are listed here to get your own Common Kits on the inclusioncollaborative.org/training.aspx, and it's under professional development. And then you could go to the Discovery Source website, and they have them for sale there. All of the links lead toward the Discovery Source, and they're the ones who take in the funding and send them out to you. And again, they're available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, and we've got 2 versions now. And I encourage you to look at some of the videos that are on the Inclusion Collaborative virtual swag bag link that you will get after you've completed your eval of the conference. So thank you again. I hope you've all enjoyed your Inclusion Collaborative conference so far, virtual only, and we hope to see you again next year. Thank you.